Okay, I think we're set to begin our presentation today. I appreciate everyone's time in joining the third and final session of Good Things Come in Three. So this week's edition is Staying on Track. If you showed up any of the past couple of weeks, you would have learned a little bit more about setting manager up to your business and how it can help you stay productive. But really today, I'm excited to share some specific use cases that are in line with helping you stay on track. So, with that said, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Manager, just what it is to set a baseline understanding and level set with expectations. And then we're going to jump into all of those best practices, talk about several use cases I have planned for today. And then I would say, as we're going, feel free to drop a question in the chat, and you can always add it now or add it later on when you see what you're looking for. But I guess this is a live presentation, and if there's something you were hoping to see, I encourage you to let us know. So with all of that introduction set aside, I like to start off with kind of the biggest thing that sets Manager apart from all the other business and customer relationship process tools out there in the market. But 2020 Manager is unique. So it's the one business process solution that's built for the 2020 customers in mind. And it's one thing to say that, it's kind of obvious, but by us having the kind of keys to the kingdom and being able to integrate and tie these things together, you're able to realize significant value that you wouldn't be able to with multiple different tools. So Manager brings together all of that data, all of the information from the design you were building in Design Live, and pulls that into Manager, which allows you to accelerate quoting, creating contracts, and having all of the information about uh, the actual work you're working on. So, like I said, there's a lot of tools out there, but Manager is set apart because it's the one that uses your same login from Design Live and hooks into where you're already working. So, with that said, I like to hop into a demo. Again, that's kind of our goal for this presentation is to really speak about the use cases that you're seeing on a daily basis to help you stay on track. Now, we have a regular weekly webinar every Tuesday, and we'll touch on that briefly. I guess the difference today is we're talking about very, very specific use cases, whereas in the past you may have learned some general concepts. But with what you're seeing right now, I'd like to just give you a quick overview and glimpse into 2020 Manager. So upon logging in, you'll notice you're presented with a list of current projects that are ongoing for your company. It is user-based and it is built for my whole team. So I see by default all of the ones that I'm responsible for, but I have a number of filterable controls up here in the top right-hand corner that give you the ability to see just what you're looking for in a glimpse. So this is kind of I guess a first tip in terms of staying on track is, hey, there's lots of projects going on across my business. How do I find the ones that I need to pay the most attention to? And really, it's a great question, but you can change these filters to see what stage they're in, whether or not it's an open project or not, who the owner of those projects are across my team, when it was started and planned to be completed, and then also priorities. So there's a lot of interesting data that we pull with these projects, but I'll give you a quick example here. I may very want to quickly see all of the projects that I owe an outstanding quote to. So I can quickly apply and see all of those projects that are in the quote phase. Let's clear those filters off. But a number of priority-driven enhancements are available. So it's one thing for me to say, well, here are the ones that are in a contract or a payment stage, but maybe I want to see the ones that have a high priority marked on them by me. So I can quickly switch the filter, change it to all for the employees that own it. So I can see across the organization, I can see all of the employees that have projects that are listed as high priority. And it's very simple to control. So as you're looking at your project, you have this priority indicator that you can click on. Whoops, missed the click. I can click on the priority and it will present to me that simple color coding to classify the priority level of the projects I'm looking at. But the idea is there's a lot of different things going on across my business at any given time. And this will provide insight for me to not just see what I have going on, but what's going on across the team, the things that are the most important. And there's a number of other controls there that you have at your fingertips for filtering. But as far as the actual work you're looking to build, you have the Add Project button itself. And I'd like to call out a couple of enhancements from here that help you stay on track today. So many of you should be familiar with this core workflow if you've trialed Manager today. And what I would say is, I'm going to show you some specific opportunities to really turbocharge your workflows. But I guess real quick, I'd like to present a poll question for all of the attendees here. We'll go ahead and drop that in the chat. It's open. So in the box, if you've tried using Manager before, yes or no. It's always good to see an understanding of the breakdown of our attendees. So go ahead, if you're watching, give that poll a click, yes or no, and we can come back to that later. But if you haven't seen Manager before, really this should be the standard workflow that comes out of the box that has all of the steps you need to finish a project. So at the beginning, it ties in your contact details that are very easily stored in your database. I'll show you that. But I can choose from a customer that may already exist or create someone new from scratch. I'll go ahead and choose someone that's already in my database and save, which will unlock the next step of the workflow. Now, the briefing step is optional, but you can take a number of questions that are specific to the project, perhaps the space they're looking to create, maybe their start date, but these are all optional questions, and you can customize these questions to fit how you present them to your customer. So at this point, I've taken a survey and learned a little bit about my customer, understood a little bit about their preferences. And the next tip I want to show is, as I go through this process, any documentation I generate or store is easily accessible and able to be available to help me stay on track. Essentially, you have the global project area to the right here. So when you're looking at your new workflows, you have the context here on your left of any task you're doing. And on the right, these things follow you on throughout your project here. So what does that mean? Well, that survey I just added, you'll see it's stored right here in the attachment section. But as I go through, you'll notice a number of other documents become available. So I'm going to click into Design Live real quick and show you what that means. So I'm going to save this design I'm working on. Whoops. Save it. Okay. And then I send into Manager. And by clicking this button, it's under the Presentation tab of Design Live. But by clicking this, it'll package up the items, the catalog, the manufacturers, the design itself, and send that information into Manager for you to manage in your projects. So this is where the magic happens. You have all of this great design you already have, all of this data. Now it's simply pulled into Manager for you to manage throughout your process. And you'll notice, as I add this, it's going to continue to store and centralize all of my documents. Take a look. So you'll notice the past design files I've synced in. Now you can choose one or multiple design files. to add to your project. But I'll go ahead and choose the one we just synced. And it'll pull in that space, the number of catalogs used, the type of products involved, and the retail price associated. I can very easily edit and modify. Say I need a certain item to add to my project, I can do that. Or let's say I have a builder come in that doesn't have a design. He just needs to order, 10 doorknobs because he forgot to order it on his last project. You can come in here and add whatever it is you're looking for, add the items, and build an order manually as well. But the idea is you have the flexibility, and as you do this, it stores all of that data in your attachment section. So when you're trying to stay on track with your customers, you're going to have all of the information on the projects you're working on neatly stored in this global project area under attachments. And if I want to add in, say I'm perhaps on site at the customer's house taking images of what I'm looking to replace, I'm going to take a picture of maybe their old kitchen, or maybe something unique on their project that I want to remember. I can store all of this information very neatly. You can click on it. I can preview these items that I have stored. You can get access to. You can't preview the kit file, but essentially I can store all of my documents related to the project I'm working on, which helps me stay on track and really keeps all of my information very neat. Great. So let's pause here. Taking a look back at our poll. Looks like really interesting. A good portion of our audience this is the first time seeing Manager. So I'm going to continue to cover in best practices, but I would encourage everyone here to come back to our Tuesday session every Tuesday at 3 o'clock Eastern. I'll just give you a little quick glance of the slide I had for it, but essentially more of a generic webinar. I encourage you all to come back and we talk about more general topics of Manager. But let's continue on through our workflow here. What have we done? Well, I had a customer come in, I got their contact. I learned a little bit about their project by taking a brief. I imported a design or a space I'm looking to turn into a sold deal. Well, now I want to turn it into a quote. Now, we'll continue on by pressing that big red orange button at the bottom and corner of the page. And essentially, you're presented with a pop-up to do the two things you need to generate a quote. So first, a means of paying for it. So if you require everything up front, I would say one installment, and I'd select a due date for the payment. But perhaps you do offer some sort of financing options. I can say about 3 installments of 30 days each, starting at the end of the month, and generate installments, and it will calculate all of those payments evenly. But let's just say I want to update to 50% down up front because that's what I require. I can click that, and it will update the payment installments that my customers actually receive. This comes into play later on, and I'll show you what that looks like. But if you look here to your right-hand side, you also have your pricing controls of what the actual quote should be for. So I see my unit price of what was pulled in from the design itself. I have automated markups, which if you were at last week's session, you would have seen how we applied those, but I can touch on that. You have automated markups that I can then add additional markups to. So let's just say I have a 17% markup just for my company that I charge on every project. Again, you'll see where this is fed from in just a minute. But let's just say this project is far away from my central location and I want to charge an extra $100 to recoup gas prices. I can add that into what gets calculated for the retail price. So essentially I have my unit price, I mark it up to get it to a retail, and then my retail price I can discount to get to a final price. Now, what that means is maybe I'm doing a special and I want to give 10% off to win the deal. I can do that, and essentially you get full visibility of the price as you generate it. But very quickly, this is where we take all of that design data, that pricing information, and we pull it into a quote template. Out of the box, most of you, if you've started a trial, will have the non-itemized quote. But the important thing to remember is this is your quote. You can customize this for how your business wants to present it to customers. So the non-itemized quote will pull in the charges for the total, as well as any discounts I've itemized, giving me a final price and when it's due. But essentially, this quote is stored also in my global project area under the attachments. And I can change that to have any of the design elements I want, and we can come back to that. But let me see here. How are we doing on time? So a couple of highlights, just since I mentioned pricing, this is a really important step. And we just updated these menus today, so apologize for the clicking around. But under your settings, you'll have the sales section, which has taxes and operations. But pricing operations, this is where I have those automated controls. You'll see I have a ton of them. I demo this feature all the time. But essentially, I can come in here and choose to add either a global company markup. So, hey, I charge 30% extra for my customers. Maybe a individual item category or supplier. So if I have a particular item I want to upcharge because the cost has gone up, I can do that. If I have a particular supplier that is running a promotion for the month, I can incorporate that into what gets priced. But I'll just show you what that looks like. So supplier, let's do a March Madness special. Okay. And it's going to be a discount. We're doing a discount for the special, and we're going to give a 10% off. Applying it to the spaces and any additional items. And great. Now, whenever a project is pulled in, that automated pricing we looked at will pull on that additional discount. But the important thing to remember is I can always overwrite that price to make it the specific amount I want it to if I need it. But where are we? Well, back to the process. We've completed the quote. Once we've actually approved the project, I can go ahead and progress on to the next stage, which is the contract, which very similar to quote. It is templatized. It will pull in all of the previously approved data and steps that we've had into this contract template. Now, I know it's a little small if you're looking at it on your screen here. The fine print is really fine, right? But these terms are legally binding. But more importantly, you can customize these terms to be, maybe specific to your local area. So I can come in here, and underneath the configurations tab, there's the option for documents. And let's just say I have my contract, but I want to come in here and change the fine print. Now there's a lot to look at. Anything I can pull in, any data I have in Manager I can pull in, I would encourage you to, explore a little bit before you make changes, or give us a call and we'd be happy to help you. But here's what I was getting at. Let's say these fine terms, I have a specific no refunds policy. Can add that clause right to my contract template, save it, and now whenever someone gets presented with my contracts, I'm automatically going to pull in my correct terms and correct details. So just a small tip that helps you make your documents a little more accurate. And let's see, a couple of other highlights that are really meant to help you stay on track. We have full calendar integration functionality with Google and Microsoft Outlook. So what you're looking at here is right now I have my calendar pulling in to the overarching calendar view here. But essentially all of my team members, if I integrate my team in here, I can see color-coded each of the different team members' events going on at any given time. And any project that I'm working on, let's just say I need to do an install and I want to schedule it out, and I have a just a standard calendar invite. The highlight I want to show you is I can come in here and choose the project I was just working on with Mr. Appleberry. And again, it's a standard calendar invite. I'll just go ahead and save this. But the idea is any calendar invites that I create, and I did it a week out here. Let's go to the next week. Should have paid attention to the date I made the calendar event for. But more importantly, here's how to stay on track. I just created that calendar event. When did I schedule that? A perfect use case. Well, I go back into my contact and I scheduled that appointment, and it'll store any of those appointments associated with that project under this global project area. So when it comes time to stay on track, that's the appointment I was looking for. It's at the end of the month, not this week. So I can click here and it will link me right into that calendar appointment. But again, I think more importantly, the real benefit is I can see my calendar at an aggregate view to understand exactly what's going on across the business and all employees and when the installs are happening. And then also, when I add it in here, it will sync into my Outlook calendar and vice versa. So I always have the information about what's going on, and I'll get notified if I'm in Manager, an appointment comes up. Much like Outlook, I'll get a little appointment notification that I can stay on top of my projects. So how do you integrate? Well, you can come into the cog at the top right-hand corner of the calendar, and you choose Add Account. And what that will do is gives you a drop down to choose your source of calendar, whether it's Google or Microsoft, and add it directly to integrate. I'm not going to save this since I already have mine pulled in, but the idea is pretty straightforward. You tie it in, it goes both directions, and then when I'm the business manager looking to keep track of what's going on, I really am able to help my company stay on track and plan for when things are busy. So again, another important area to keep in mind. A couple of other highlights that help you stay on track. So we looked at our project here, and you'll notice it has a preset plan completed date. And plan completed date is really a close date for when you're anticipating the project to close. But the important thing to realize is I'm in the contract phase here. Now, my plan date for this step, I have listed as April 5th for the contract. The customer needs a little bit of time to change their contract. If I want to switch these planned completed dates to be more specific to when I expect the customer to close, maybe they're actually going to close this coming Wednesday because they have to make a decision by then. Well, that plan completed date will be updated to reflect those changes. And when it comes to staying on track, going back to the homepage, I get a very easy snapshot into when things are being completed, and I can filter by this. So as you're building up this, the central database, you have the ease to get back and forth to whatever you're looking for and to make sure it's in line with your highest priority. So the biggest thing we hear from our design and our 2020 customers really as a whole is how busy the design space is. So we understand using this type of technology may be a little effort compared to if you're coming from a whiteboard or a physical calendar on your desk, but more and more these things become more powerful when they're together. And the fact that we can use one login from my Design Live account and it all connects these different areas together, I think it's a real value add to help you stay on track. But a couple of other last little call outs, if I could while I'm here. One little tip and trick I'd like to recommend if you haven't been on any of the other sessions. If you come into your settings and go to company information, there's a spot up here for your logo. I know it seems simple, benign really. It's just kind of a a logo, right? What does this do? But by you updating and putting your personal branding, as we look at and generate quotes and contracts and any documentation, all of your branding gets pulled into everything you're looking at. So I always encourage people, it takes 1 second, come in here, click the logo option and choose your logo that you have on file, because that will make things more personal. Excuse me. But a couple last things. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our slide deck here. And then in just a minute, we'll open it up for some more questions. But so if you have anything specific you're looking to see, drop it in the chat. But from a sign up and a permission perspective, like what do you get and what is included? Essentially, there you go to manager.2020spaces.com and you log in with your existing Design Live account, and it will initiate a free trial of the Foundation Edition. Now, the free trial is for 30 days, and after the 30 days, you don't lose anything. You simply get downgraded to the Starter Edition if you haven't upgraded. But the real difference is, if I can have up to 10 unclosed projects at a time in the Starter Edition. Once I've grown to the point where I have multiple projects, we hope you'll, and you've grown to a point where you're, doing dozens of projects maybe on a daily basis, then yeah, we hope you will upgrade. But even if you don't, you're never going to lose the functionality of Manager. You simply get, just downgraded and you keep the data you've already set up. But there are really important reasons you can upgrade. So additional workflow customizations, like you saw, changing those documents, making those surveys different. Those things are available during your trial, but after your trial, you lose the control. So I encourage anyone to go in and take advantage of the trial window. But we're adding additional controls here that you're going to see in upcoming releases. And a couple of good highlights that I think are important for our customers that we've heard pretty regularly. So if I click to that, too many slides. So here we are. In the workflow, one thing we're getting ready to release is a functionality called 2020 Pay. Excuse me. But I'm going to click over to the unreleased version. So I have two tabs open here. But my staging environment, the area we're looking to get ready to release, I like to preview a little bit of functionality that's getting ready to be released here in a couple of weeks, for our beta group, at least I should say. Let me just show you an example that's already up. I don't have it active at the demo for this moment, but take my word for it. The screenshot you see right here, essentially, as I go through and I set up my installments, I can share that payment directly to the customer on file, and this will send that payment request to the customer in the form of an email. They can also scan the QR code or go to the website online, but it ties all of your dollars and cents back to the projects you were working on. This is one exciting release we have upcoming that should make you even more productive, because Manager's the glue that ties together all these different business tools. And by using the 2020 Pay tie-in, it's essentially the same cost as using a standard credit card terminal, but it's tied to all of your project work, and you're able to see and track all of your accounting details back to taxes that were collected, the projects that were undertaken, where those projects were located. So again, it's a very exciting feature that will be coming out in upcoming releases. And then also, you'll notice some of the pricing updates. We now have the ability to add a custom markup. But I like to show off the fact that we have advanced pricing controls coming into Manager. So where we were looking at the pricing controls today, just click back into that. It's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot going on with pricing. And what we're looking to release here is the full control version, where slide there. The full presentation that I was just putting on the screen. Let me get that back up here. Here we go. From the top to bottom, we pull in the unit price like you were seeing, but we're itemizing out all of those automated markups. So you can see them, the pricing operations, you can see all the pricing controls right there calculated from our unit price. And with any additional markups, that gives me a retail price. We can add charges like installation and shipping and have those itemized, and then discount from that to generate a final subtotal. Subtotal plus tax equals the total that the customer actually sees. But I guess the point I'm trying to get across is more and more manager is becoming the business side of what our great design software has to offer already. And I guess the call to action here is it's included with your Design Live account, at least the starter edition is. Log into manager.2020spaces.com. I'm going to go ahead and put the URL up here. If I could get to, there it is, manager.2020spaces.com. I encourage, if you haven't already, for that poll that we took, a good portion of users haven't even gotten a chance to see the new interface. I would say go to manager.2020spaces.com and it will take you to a page where you enter your credentials and it'll allow you to link your existing Design Live account directly to Manager without any additional sign up. Again, I encourage you to take advantage of that. And then let's see here, any other, let's go ahead and jump back in and I'll open up things for questions. I saw a few come through that we touched on, at least when it comes to pricing operations. But if there's any specific function or feature you hope to see, feel free to drop it in the chat now. One question we get asked about quite a bit on other webinars is where do you go for support? So if you have questions in addition, or you don't feel comfortable asking them in front of the group, it's okay. You can come in and click on the support icon in the top right-hand side of the page. And you can have helpful links to our Knowledge Center or directly to the manager help. Let's see here. Let's pull up any additional questions. Okay. How is manufacturing multiplier factored in? That's a great question. So the pricing that you establish in Design Live, if you've already had a multiplier or a factor established in, it will pull over into Manager, but I have the same factor control in those pricing operations we looked at earlier. So I can come in here and say I want to do a markup. I can choose either the multiple is the equivalent of a factor as well as the embedded. Like, so I have all of the pricing controls you have in Design Live should be here in terms of how you can control the value. But that does get pulled into the design file, the kit file that gets sent from Design Live into Manager. So your pricing will be pulled in, and then you can add the additional controls we already talked about. That's a good question. Some questions about past recordings. I know this is our last session, and I believe our marketing team is sending out the recordings after the conclusion of this session to all of the attendees. So if you've attended any of the 3 sessions, you should get all of these recordings. So you will get emailed for those, so you should expect that. Let's see. Is there a way to add branding colors to go with the logo and for quotes? That's a really, really interesting question. Short answer is that you can add additional images, but not any specific colors at the moment. But we are working to expand these custom documents to add additional controls. So I will be sure to share that feedback with the team that the colors is something that is worth exploring. So that's something. Now, one other comment I will give you in terms of those documents. Again, they just moved the menus on me today. But in your custom documents, so if you go to settings and configuration documents, my pro tip, I would encourage you, if you think you want to change any of the branding or the way this is constructed right now, I would recommend coming into so I can filter by, this is my contracts. If I switch to deals here, I can also get all my quotes. But here's my recommendation. There's a duplicate button. I would say duplicate the one that exists, and then on the duplicate, have as much fun as possible, play around with, break it, expand it as much as you need to. All of these things on your left-hand side are able to be controlled and pulled in. What does that mean? So let's just say I wanted to pull in something about my company. I can expand that section, click where I want it to be. So let's just say I want my company phone number to be there after my, after the customer's phone number, I want my phone number to be there, something like that. I click there, click company phone, and it pulls in that additional data attribute directly in. So, yeah, I have some control there. Let me see something here. Now, I may have just got caught in my own lie here. So I wasn't sure if it was something that was available, but you can, on the borders of your tables here, you can come in here and you can customize these colors and the control of the branding of like borders, things like that. So this is something that our support team can definitely help you out with. So I would encourage you, again, I'm just kind of clicking around here at this point, but I would encourage you to have a little trial and error, or contact our support if you want to create something unique or direct with your custom documents. How do we access the webinars on Tuesday? That's a great question here. I have a link for you. I will drop in the chat. Typically, we send an email out to anyone that has started a trial, or we also do some general marketing where it's included. But in the chat, I'm going to drop in the link to register. I can get it to copy. And I would encourage everyone to join this future session. I could get it to, okay, so there's the link to the GoToWebinar registration session for our Tuesday event. So again, every Tuesday, similar format, but we talk through more general topics on the workflow than the specific staying on track tasks. So yeah, come back, ask more questions, play around with manager, and if you have more that come up, you always have an open forum to speak directly to someone on the product team. All right. Can you delete a contract if I've gone all the way to the final? Sure. Let me show you exactly. And I hadn't shown that yet. So Chris, no worries. Let me show you. So this is an important call out. So we're back in our project. After you're in your contract phase, once it's marked as signed, it no longer counts as an active project against your 10 project limit. But that's not so much your question, I guess. I guess if you just wanted to completely nuke this project, it was someone that called and then they never answered my call back, or I never heard from them again. I don't need them to mess up my database. I can come into the project and there's a cancel button in the bottom right. That by doing this will eliminate that project completely. So obviously no more Mr. Appleberry at the top. But it makes me think of also, if you're ever kind of the back door into my projects, I like to show in my other presentations is, let's just say you work with a builder that has tons of projects. If I go into my lead section here, my contacts, I can pull up the individual builder or the contact I was using in my workflow, and I can see all of the past projects I was working on. So, hey, I just deleted a project. I need to get back to the other one that is active. Let's see if I can find something more recent. Here we go. It's a permission control for me, but I guess the idea is they link back and forth for the user. And so I can cancel and centrally locate any project that I have going on. Okay, markup and margin. That's a really, really good question. So the question is this: around our pricing operations, we have those automated controls we talked about, and the question got brought in, the difference between markup versus margin. And it's something that I can get you a definite answer for, but in terms of the clear definition, but let me show you. I think it's a label thing here, but essentially, if the margin was a control you used in Design Live, I'm confident it's one of these. I believe it's the embedded or the multiple. But again, let's see here, Jody, I'm gonna take that as an action item, and I have your contact details. So let me get you an answer on that, and we can always follow up offline. But the main, I'll make sure we check that through with our Design Live partners. But the idea of pricing, it is a continuous evolution, because we feel that pricing on Design Live doesn't get used enough by all of our customers, and different customers use it in different ways. So our hope is, Manager, we're going to be bringing in those controls from Design Live, but also expanding on them. We've heard a number of requests over the years about additional pricing controls, but I'll work to get a specific answer around the margin calculation, and I'll follow up with you directly. Now, there was a specific reference to contract more than just canceling a project. But if I am in a project, let me see. After the signed contract, I can only cancel after it's, so once it's been marked signed, I would have to cancel it and start over as a new project. But before it's marked signed, I can reject it and edit it. Or also, I guess I could technically, let's see here. I can come back into the previous stages of the workflow, and let's just say I priced it wrong. I can come in here and say, oh, I actually the final deal we worked out was 20,000 even. So let's just see. I need an extra $313. So let's see if I can work this one. Perfect. I can update that price directly in the final price and say, oh, by doing this, this is going to cancel, even though we didn't cancel the full project, this cancels that contract that I'm overriding without nuking the entire project. So price update. So even though it's signed, I had a signed contract, I can come in here, I can technically cancel the original one and initiate a different quote for it, then, pick up where it should have been. So great, I modified my quote, got my new quote, and in turn, I have a new contract. Whoops. Approved. New contract. And so again, you see the one that was canceled, but I can generate my new one now based on the active quote. So I'll generate that. And great, here we have our new contract now, fully established. And all of my documents, all those updated documents are stored under my attachments. Good, really good question. That was a new one for me. I had to go through that a little bit. All right, I think that concludes all of our questions for today. I'll pause for another minute or so if there's anyone that has any afterthoughts or extra questions that come to mind now. Otherwise, everyone have a great day and look out for those recordings. It should be sent out to your inbox sometime next week, or at least the next few days, I think the answer was. And then come back on Tuesday and we can talk about some more topics and specific use cases after you've had a chance to play with it some more. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.